Hey everybody, I just had the worst dream ever, and I don't want to share it, but I'm gonna share it because it went on for a good 45 minutes of just the same thing again and again. So this morning, I saw somebody's comment and I got really angry. And I just said, this person is demonizing somebody who is a good person, and I got really, really mad. And I said, they're walking in dangerous territory, basically. So I went to sleep. I didn't even think about it. Went back to sleep, and I don't remember much because there was a lot that went on. I mostly remember the end. So I was in some sort of like school or something like that, and there was somebody who was like a mocker, and I was like trying to get away from them. Anyways, I get to a classroom where these mockers are, and they're in hell. Literally, but it's like as if they're already being judged. And I don't even want to say this because it just makes me so upset. Well, I was given a rope, and it was as if like I was being told by God, you are being judged because you judged so harshly. So you are being judged. And I was like, I literally said, please God forgive me. And there was a girl there, and I'll say this, that she, how do I explain? The boys would not stop mocking. They had like this mocking spirit where they thought it was cool to always say something rude, to always be rude to the teacher, like to just really be very berating, very like harsh, like, and they were like, I'm going to hell, but so I hope you go to hell too, saying things like that. And I just was like, oh my goodness. And at the point where like the demon from this person came up to me and literally wrapped itself around me, and it's where its hands were, I began to burn, but it was a sulfuric acidic burn, and I could still feel it when I woke up, and it's still kind of lingering there. And it like put it in my hair too, like almost like washed my hair with this sulfuric thing. It didn't hurt all my hair, but it hurt where its hands were at. I put its hand like on my left hip and on my right hip as well. I don't know how, because its hand wasn't there. And on my shoulder, it started burning so bad, it hurt so bad. This being felt like as if it was a gray alien type thing, like just very skinny and full of death, I guess you could say. But anyways, it just, when I felt it hug me and cling itself to me, I heard hell. And I heard this guttural, like throat kind of, how do I explain? Like an animal kind of growling, but it was hell. It was the mouth of hell growling. And I was just like, God, I forgive. Please forgive me. Please, God. Because I've had other dreams like that too, where like if I'm in unforgiveness and I'm angry, then I'll have a dream about hell. Because God loves me so much, He does not want me to go there. And I'm sure He loves you so much, He does not want you to go there. It was bad. It was so awful. And so I asked God, because I started to get a word of knowledge for two of them. The two boys that were sitting there that were mocking me, I had it in my heart to help them because I didn't want them to go to hell. So I just said, you need to separate yourself. So I grabbed his desk and I started moving him to the other side of the room. And then I was like, wait, let me make sure he sits next to somebody who's quiet. And to where he's not like facing his friend, like literally across his room to where he can just stare at his friend. So I did that, but then I started to see like sheets kind of, and they were literally blaspheming Jesus, literally. And I just thought, how could you say this about God? Like there was like sexual like desire for Jesus on the cross, like enjoying watching him be tortured. I remember that being part of it. And I did remember in the comment that I had made, I said, this is blasphemous. The person is, and then I think I deleted it. But I think that if I'm calling somebody blasphemous, like it needs to be really actually blasphemy, but don't judge so harshly so quickly, because you will be judged with that judgment that you judge. So I was really, really like, oh my gosh, I just kept on like climbing. Like there was a rope and I just had to continue climbing and climbing and climbing. And then the people, it seemed like they were actual souls learning, and they were like, God, if this judgment is over for her, would you release some water? And there was water. It came down and it cooled me off from the fire that I was in. And then I was able to leave, but I didn't want to leave. I wanted to make sure that they were okay and that they had this understanding of what was wrong. And so a girl comes up to me and she's kind of like stocky looking, kind of, but she's also naked, and I did not have any desire for her. But I know that when we're in our sin, that we're completely naked, like we lose those robes of righteousness. So the boys, I didn't see whether they were naked or not. I just wasn't really paying attention to that. But her, for some reason, it was like very, very clear that she was completely naked. I mean, I didn't see her private parts, but I knew that she was naked. My eyes were fixed on her eyes. And she's tall and stocky. And I looked at her and I just said, you're not a model. You're not supposed to be a model. And I said, let me pray and ask God what I think you should be. And then I started writing on the whiteboard, and I started writing social services worker. And I said, because you have compassion and you've been through a lot, then you should do something like this. I think that people want to feel like they want to know what their strengths and their weaknesses are. Nobody should ever be a model. I'm just going to put this out there just in case. If you think that there's such a thing as a Christian model, you are wrong. Because nobody should sell their image. Your image should not be sold, because you're made in the image of God and you cannot sell God. So that's a form of prostitution. And yeah, and when I hugged her, she started to have some like transference of spirits, and I was like, great, now I have to do deliverance again, because I could feel like this thing like wrapping around me when I hugged her. So God is saying, be careful. Like, be very careful who you have fellowship with. Like, be very, very careful, because if people aren't committed to be purged of their sin, they're going to influence you. I also remember there was a teacher at a certain point, and I said that I was going to leave. And I was still being like mocked and ridiculed and mocked and mocked and mocked. And my grandma was in charge. And she's a businesswoman. And I was like, I'm leaving. And I didn't want to give her the full story, but I said, my stomach hurts. I don't feel good. And there was more to the story, but I just said that much. And I started to leave. And then I threw my shoe towards them. And then that's when the fire began to happen. When I threw my shoe. And my shoe was blue. And there was a woman at the front, and she looked at me and she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just did that. But it was what was in my heart. I don't think that it was like a teachable moment of like, this is what you're supposed to do. I think that it was literally just me. And I was like really, really angry because of how mocking they were. And I was so close to being far away from them, and they're going to receive a judgment of hell. And so I'm supposed to separate, but do not judge with such harshness. Just walk away. Just walk away. And this is not like an issue where it's like, oh, you're a little upset. No, I had said, you're going to hell and you're blaspheming God. And so the same, when you tell somebody that they are going to hell, I've always been disciplined whenever I tell somebody in my heart that, oh, you're going to hell. Like when I decide to judge them that they're going to go to hell. You know what I mean? So, oh yeah, and I knew that these people were also Catholic, that they were like idolaters and they were Catholic, and that they said that there's only two jobs, a businessman and a pope, and that's it. And then, but the person saying it was a witch. So I had a they had like a cone-shaped hat. I was looking, and the woman saying this, and they couldn't see her. I could see her, but the drawings were on the wall. This reminds me of like Nebuchadnezzar or something. Like the writing is on the wall. God is putting the writing on the wall for them. But anyway, so yeah, anytime that I've spoken to somebody who is a believer, I said supposed because they're like idolaters, but anybody who professes to believe in God or reads the Bible or whatever, if I say you are going to hell, I am standing in the place of judgment of God. And with the same judgment that I judge, and I say you're going to hell, then I should say to myself that I also am going to hell. So don't do that. This is your warning. Something I learned today. I didn't want to learn this. And I'm sorry, I'm piecing together all the little bits and pieces of the message. And I hope that this helps you, because I know that God hates to have to teach me these kind of lessons, but it was necessary. Bye, guys.